إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين. My brothers and sisters in Islam, we all face hardships and difficulties in life. Sometimes we have these hardships at home between ourselves and our spouses. Or maybe we're having issues with our kids. Or maybe we're even having problems with our parents. Or maybe these issues may be financial. You know, we have problems paying the bills. We can't find a job, can't make the ends meet. And so many of these other issues and difficulties and hardships that we all go through in life. But as we go through these hardships, there are two things we should always keep in mind. First, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in His book, He says that with every hardship there will be ease for sure. Yani have no doubt that with every hardship there will be ease. And that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us that when a Muslim is pricked by a thorn, or anything greater than that, that a sin is removed from him and a good deed is given to him as a compensation for going through that hardship. So as we go through the hardships in life, we ask that Allah cleanses us of our sins and replaces them with good deeds. And once that hardship passes, He replaces it with absolute ease. Ameen. But these issues and hardships that I've mentioned to you, my brothers and sisters, are all things that come and go. They're a part of life. But there are those amongst us that have hardships from either the day that they're born or they gain it sometime throughout their lifetime, and they have it until the day that they meet the grave. And those are the people amongst us who have disabilities. Now, I myself can stand here and talk to you about so many different conditions and disabilities that not are just amongst within our ummah, but amongst our community as a whole. But today, inshallah ta'ala, I will speak to you about a condition or disability that I know a lot about, because I myself, along with an estimated 283 million people around the world, have this condition, and that, my brothers and sisters in Islam, is blindness. Now, I myself am considered to be legally blind. What that means is that I have vision, but my vision is so limited that according to the law of the land, I'm considered to be blind. So I can't read a standard document if you gave it to me in 12.5 font. I won't be able to do that. I can't drive a car, and so on and so forth. And I mention this to you so that you may understand that not all blindness is created the same. They go in levels. Some can even see better than me, all the way to no sight at all. Just so that you can actually be aware of that as we talk about this topic. And if we're going to talk about blindness in this setting of Yawmatul Jum'ah, there is no better place to start except for the most famous blind man from amongst our history. And that is Abdullah ibn Maktoum, may Allah be pleased with him. Now the narration goes that one day the Prophet ﷺ was speaking to some of the chiefs of Al-Quraysh. Amongst them was Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. These are the top of Al-Quraysh, my brothers and sisters in Islam. And for once it seemed as if they were actually paying attention to the message that he was giving to them. And in the distance, Abdullah ibn Maktoum can hear the Prophet speaking about Allah and His deen. And he wanted to gain that benefit. So despite the fact of being blind, he went going towards the Prophet in almost a running fashion, and in a loud voice saying, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, teach me what your Lord has taught you. And from this event, we have the first few ayat of Surah Abasa. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت عنه له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى. As I attempt to translate the meanings of the words of Allah, it says that he, meaning the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, frowned and turned away when the blind man came approaching. And how would you, O Muhammad, how would you know that he may have come to you to be purified? Or that the reminder that you were sharing would have been a reminder of great benefit for him? And as far as those who feel that they are self-sufficient, this is talking about those chiefs of Al-Quraysh, to them you turn your attention. And what should it matter to you if they choose to be purified? And as far as the one who came to you, running with enthusiasm, and he is the one who truly is aware of and fears Allah, from him you turn your attention. Now, my brothers and sisters in Islam, we should always be aware of and be careful about when we speak about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we have to understand that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the example for all of us to follow. He is the example for mankind. In any position you play in life, there is an example for you to follow in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we need to be aware of that these words were preserved in the Quran so that we may know how to interact with our fellow brothers and sisters in Islam or in humanity who may be blind or disabled. And alhamdulillah, what a beautiful example we have in the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as our final messenger. After this event, every time Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would see Abdullah ibn Maktoum, he would say to him, "Welcome to the one on whose behalf Allah has rebuked me." And in plain English, what that means is welcome to the one on whose behalf that Allah has corrected me, that Allah has checked me. Allahu Akbar. And this is preserved in the Quran, my brothers and sisters in Islam, for eternity. So I have a question that I think we should all ask ourselves. If this is preserved, and Allah has corrected His beloved in the Quran for just turning His attention from a blind person or a disabled person for a moment, how would we be treated on the Day of Judgment for ignoring an entire community? Something to ponder and think about. Now, along with this example that I gave you, there are many other examples. It is narrated by Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam appointed Abdullah ibn Maktoum as his mu'adhin, as the person to call the prayer, despite the fact that he was blind. Now, I'm sure most of us know about Bilal ibn Rabah, may Allah be pleased with him, who was the first mu'adhin, the first person to call prayer for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But what most of us may not know is that he and Abdullah ibn Maktoum would take turns. One would make the adhan and the other would make the iqamah. That, my brothers and sisters in Islam, is going past what we simply perceive as a weakness in this person. right? We see them as a blind person, and in general, the general community would say, this person is weak, this person can't add anything to the community. Look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ, seeing what this person can give to the community and giving him the opportunity to give it, despite the fact that he has a shortcoming that most of us would say is a shortcoming. Now, to drive this point home even further, in another narration, it is said that at least on 3 separate occasions, when the Prophet ﷺ would leave Al-Medina, he would put Abdullah ibn Maktoum in charge in his stead. Now I need you all to really think about this for a second. This is the most important time of Islam. This is the beginning of Al-Islam. In our home base in Medina, right? And the most important person that has ever walked the face of this earth, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, left a blind man in charge in his stead. This is looking past that perceived shortcoming and weakness and seeing what this person can give to the community. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah, we have such a beautiful example to follow. And in following the example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're going to move on in our Islamic history to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, may Allah be pleased with him. Now, when Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was the Khalifa, was the leader of the Muslims, he told all of the governors of his time to collect all of the names of the people amongst the Ummah, the Muslim community, who were blind and disabled. Right? Gather all of their names, and those who had chronic conditions. And he did great things for all of them. But as a blind person, when I hear what he did for the blind people specifically, it's amazing to me, right? What Umar ibn Abdul Aziz did is for the blind people specifically, he hired people to guide them wherever they needed to go. Now, I kind of want to give you an example of this so you can understand the magnitude of this, right? That's like me coming here to Cedar Park, this Austin, Texas area, right? I've never been here before. I don't know nothing out here, right? And I go to the mayor's office. I'm like, hey, Mr. Mayor, how are you today? I'm new to your town. I don't know where anything is. I'm blind. I don't have the funds to use Uber everywhere. Can you help me? And the mayor saying, sure, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring someone to you, right? We're going to have a car drive you around wherever you need to go. They're at your call, and guess what? You don't pay a dime for it. This is the example that the Muslims set centuries ago. Centuries ago. You can't find that here today. You may have accessible transportation, but as a blind person, I know for a fact you got to book that ride a day in advance. You got an hour window to wait for them to come pick you up. You got to be ready waiting outside, because if you miss it by 5 minutes, they're gone. There's nothing like this available right now. Nothing. Not only did Umar ibn Abdul Aziz hire people to guide these blind people wherever they needed to go, but he employed assistants, people to assist them with whatever they needed assistance with. Now I want to stop here to share a piece of advice with myself and with all of you that can hear me right now. If you see someone that is blind, or that may have some sort of disability, right? But it's very obvious. You can see they have a disability. And it looks like they need help with something. Whether they're looking for something on the floor, or they, whatever it may be. You can see that it seems like they're struggling with something that they're doing at this point in time. Please, please, my brothers and sisters in Islam, ask first before you act. Ask first. Ask them if they need assistance. Because the last thing you want to do is to offend a fellow brother or sister in Islam or in humanity, is to offend them. That's the last thing you want to do when all you were trying to do was to gain the favor of Allah. Ask first before you act. And then in continuing in our mission here, right, in moving along in our history, we go to Al-Walid ibn Abdul Malik. May Allah be pleased to him. May Allah be pleased with him. When he was the Khalifa of the Muslims, when he was the leader of the Muslims, And Walid ibn Abdul Malik helped establish the first institution to support people that were blind and disabled, not in Islamic history. He established the first institution to support people with disabilities in history, period. Meaning no one before him thought about doing this. SubhanAllah, look at the example. Look at our history. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah, we should be all proud of our history. So what did he do? He hired employees and doctors, and he paid them a good wage so they don't have to worry about competing with their counterparts out in the non-disabled world, right? He paid them a good wage. So you're talking about universal health care? Look at the example, my brothers and sisters in Islam. Look at this. Not only did he do that, right? Not only did he hire these doctors and establish this institution to support people that were blind and disabled, but everyone that was blind and disabled within the Ummah, he paid them a fixed wage, a good living wage, and he told them, my people, do not beg. He gave them self-respect, he gave them self-dignity and self-worth. And then going along in the same way as Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he hired people to guide the blind people and assist everyone who was blind and disabled with whatever they needed assistance with. Look at these beautiful examples we have from our history, my brothers and sisters in Islam, of how blind people did amazing things and how the leadership supported those who were blind and disabled, right? Without making them feel, without making people feel sorry for them, right? To support them, or without making them feel like less than human. And I could stand here and I could give you example over example, but inshallah ta'ala we're going to fast forward to a more recent example, because my time is limited. And my more recent example is Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk, rahimahullah ta'ala. If you're familiar with Sheikh Kishk is a sheikh from Egypt who was blind from the age of 7, okay? And look at the influence that Allah gave this man, that most of us, right, most of us, now I'm not talking about most of us, maybe not in this room, but in general, the community in general would look at as a blind person and say, just put him in the corner and let him memorize Quran, he's good to go. Don't worry about him, right? Don't worry about him, he can't do anything, he can't add anything to the community. Look at the influence that Allah gave this man. It was said that when he would give khutbah till Jum'ah, when he would give the khutbah on the day of Jum'ah on Friday, over 10,000 people will come out to the mosque in Cairo where he was to hear what he had to say. Look at the influence that Allah gave this man. It was to the point that the Orientalists, those are the people that write about Islam, they said that you couldn't walk through the streets of Cairo without having cars pass you by and hearing Sheikh Kishk's voice blaring out of those cars. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Now I've shared with you many examples, right, of blind people doing great things in Islam, of the leadership, how they treated those who are blind and disabled with respect and dignity. And yet, despite all of these examples, I still hear that I'm blind because my parents are being punished for something that they've done. Or that I'm blind because the curse of Allah is upon me. Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters in Islam, I've had this told to me to my face, and I've had other blind and disabled people come to me and tell me that they've been told this as well. But alhamdulillah, for the validity of this deen, for the truth that we have in our hands, and the proof that we have to refute this terrible, idiotic notion. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. So this is something directly from Allah. He says that when I deprive my slave of the two beloved things, al-habibatain, talking about the eyes, and he is patient, I will grant them entry into Jannah as a compensation for them. Allahu Akbar. So despite these cultural thoughts, right, because this is where it comes from, those thoughts and notions, it's very cultural, has nothing to do with Islam. Despite these ridiculous notions that this is a curse or a punishment from Allah. We hear now, we see that this is a gift from Allah. That as long as I am patient with my condition and I try to be the best Muslim and person I can be, that inshallah ta'ala, when I leave this earth, I may have an opportunity to enter into Jannah. And I ask that Allah grants us all entry into Jannah al-Firdaus. Ameen. Now, why are so many of these notions not known, right? Like, why don't, like a lot of things I told you about, I'm sure most of us in this room never even heard about any of this stuff. And the reason why, unfortunately, is because there is a lack of knowledge within our ummah, right? It's the truth. It's the hard truth. But for you, my sighted brothers and sisters in Islam, those who can see, right now is the best time for you, right? You have the knowledge, reliable, true knowledge at your fingertips, right? You can check the sources. You can make sure that this isn't just some refuted or false hadith. You can make sure that this is true. You have it there available to you. But unfortunately for your blind brothers and sisters in Islam, we don't have it so easy. And inshallah ta'ala, in the second half of the khutbah, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk to you about some efforts that myself and my family are putting forward to resolve this issue. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم ومن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. آمين يا رب العالمين. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. أما بعد. Now I'm going to share with you just a brief story. About 14 years ago, a young lady that was blind went to a mosque or a masjid in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and she accepted Islam as her way of life. And after this, she approached me, being the only Muslim blind contact that she had, right? Muslim contact in general, but also blind. She asked me, hey, can you help me find resources? Can you help me find, something I can read and learn more about Islam? And she's blind, so she reads Braille, right? Now, some blind people use audio, some blind people have some vision, so they can make it magnified. But in her specific case, she's totally blind, she reads Braille. And she reads English Braille. So we started looking for English resources in Braille for her to learn and read about Islam. And we researched, and we contacted, and we went international, and we came up short. We found nothing. Fast forward about 10, 11 years, and that sister I just mentioned to you is now my wife, and she is the mother to my 4 children. I ask that Allah rewards her for all of her efforts. Ameen. And she approaches me with a similar inquiry. She's like, hey, I want to really strengthen my iman. I want to strengthen my faith. And I want to be able to teach the kids more about Islam and the deen. So maybe we could look again. Maybe things changed. It's like 10 years. A lot changed in 10 years. So we looked again. And we looked and we searched. And alhamdulillah, we found that there's Quran in Arabic Braille, right? Which is great. But for people that read English, what good does it do, right? There is no Sunday school for blind kids to go learn how to read Arabic Braille. Nothing here, nothing in the UK, nothing in Canada, nothing in Australia, nothing like that. So we looked and looked and looked, and we came up short again. So at that point, Allah inspired us to do something about it. So we started an organization called Islam by Touch, with a specific goal of making Islam accessible to the blind community. So we started off with a primary mission of taking a reliable English translation of the Quran, knowing that it's not the Quran. We understand it's not the Quran. We We know it's an attempt at translating the meanings of the Quran, right? But to take that reliable English translation and to put it and provide it in Braille. Because you know what we did find when we were doing our research? Couldn't find any English resources about Islam in Braille, but we found every form and fashion of the Braille Bible free of charge. We found Torahs in Braille, in English, free of charge. So why don't we have something like this? So it took us about a year to do our research, to find a good English translation, to edit it properly, to format it to fit into Braille, to proofread it, to make it into sections and volumes. And alhamdulillah, we started the organization in March of 2016, and in March of 2017, we completed the English meanings of the Quran in Braille. We took what's known as the Sahih International English Meanings of the Quran in Braille. We used this specific translation because of how world-renowned it is, how accepted it is by a multitude of scholars, how simple it is but still eloquent. We took that translation, which is a book that you can pretty much fit in your pocket, right? And we put it into Braille, which is a 10-volume set. When you guys are walking out, inshallah, behind us there's a table with those 10 volumes that will be donated to Muslim Space so that they can have it for anyone whenever they come to Jum'ah, if they want to read it, or anyone that can use it within their facilities. And we did this, so we did it, and what we were going to do with it is we weren't going to charge for this book. We're going to give it out for free. Because if our Christian counterparts can give it out for free, why aren't we giving it out for free? You know, this is something that should be available to everyone. And from March 2017 till this day, alhamdulillah, we have distributed about 250 copies around the world. Alhamdulillah, free of charge. So the reason why we did this was so that our Muslim blind brothers and sisters can be able to understand the Quran that they memorized by listening, right? Really build that relationship with Allah and His Messenger, right? But the second half is so that we can give this message and share this message of Islam with our non-Muslim counterparts, right? Whether they're interested in becoming Muslim or not. Whether maybe they're just interested in dispelling the notions that all Muslims are terrorists, you know? Maybe this is a way for us to really open their eyes to see what Muslims are about. Whether they accept Islam or not, at least we built that bridge with this community. Over 10 million blind people that aren't Muslim, that have no access to this until now, alhamdulillah. And just to kind of veer a bit, I'm almost done, forgive me for my long time. Just to kind of veer a bit, this past July, we were at the world's largest blind convention, the National Federation of the Blind Convention. Over 3,000 blind people were there, and we set up the first ever dawah booth with blind accessible dawah material. And alhamdulillah, we went with over 700 booklets, right, in Braille and in large print. We went home with less than 150. So people are really, really looking for this knowledge. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, I'm just going to leave you with two more things, and inshallah we'll pray and we'll call it a day, and we can meet and talk about, our work. First, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that when the children of Adam die, right, when the son of Adam dies, all of his deeds are complete except for three. First, a continuous charity. Second, a knowledge that will benefit the people. And third, a righteous offspring that makes dua, supplicates for them, right, after they die. And inshallah, by supporting efforts like Muslim Space or Islam by Touch, 2 out of those 3 things are taken care of. The first thing, a continuous charity. Any funds going towards this effort of ours will go towards making more of these books. We print these ourselves. Don't think we outsource these. We print them ourselves. We ship them out ourselves. As you can see, I'm co-founder, president, custodian, printer. I pretty much play every role, right? I'm the whole basketball team by myself. Alhamdulillah. But we do this by ourselves, so any funds put towards efforts like this goes towards making these books, working on other books, continuing the da'wah effort, offering other services, right? And the knowledge that is given through this information, just imagine someone that's not Muslim picks up this book, and Allah guides them to this deen, right? Someone that's blind, and they get married, and they have children, and their children have children, and so on and so forth until the day of judgment. And you and I are standing in front of Allah looking for anything to put in front of us so that we can cross that finish line, right? And we're begging for His mercy, looking for any good deed, and then we get a tap on the shoulder. And it's this person that said, because you contributed towards this effort, right? Allah guided me to this deen, but not only me, but everyone that came after me in my lineage, and that goes on your scale. Allahu Akbar. And by achieving the first two parts of this hadith, I ask that Allah grants us all righteous offspring to make dua for us when we leave this earth. Ameen. And lastly, my brothers and sisters in Islam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that you, O Muslim, right? This is talking to me and you. He said, you do not believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And that is literally all I'm up here asking. I'm literally asking you for you to love for your fellow brother and sister in Islam that is blind, to be able to get access to the Quran just like you can. To have that choice. If they want to read the Quran, they can. If they want to listen to the Quran, they can. To love for them to have that choice. Or for you, my fellow brother or sister in Islam that came to Islam later on in life, for you to give the same opportunity to your blind counterparts that may not have that may not have had that opportunity before, but for now, alhamdulillah, as long as the support keeps coming in, we can do this. We can give them that opportunity. Because our support literally comes from the Muslim community. We don't have a big organization bankrolling our work. Don't even think we do. I'm too outspoken for that. But alhamdulillah, the community is what has supported us for the past 3.5 years. And inshallah, the community will be supporting us until the day of judgment. And I ask Allah makes that happen. Ameen. You know, in the beginning of the khutbah, I mentioned to you the story of Abdullah ibn Maktum. And I told you Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira were one of the people that were there, right? Now there's a narration that says that after this event happened, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira approached the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said to him, are these the types of people that follow you? These weak people? These blind people, these disabled, not disabled, these cripples, right? They don't call them disabled. They don't have enough respect for those people to call them that. These people that are weak and crippled and poor and slaves, these are the kinds of people that follow you? If these are the people that follow you, I don't want anything to do with what you're doing. So now, my brothers and sisters in Islam, this blind man is here approaching you today, and I'm asking you to be a part of what I am a part of. And that is making Islam accessible to the blind community. I ask that Allah forgives us for any and all of our shortcomings, and that He grants us His mercy at the times that we need it most, and that He replaces our bad deeds with good deeds, and that He allows us all to die upon this true faith of Islam, and that He allows our stay in the grave to be a comfortable and peaceful one, and that He allows us our resurrection to be an easy one for all of us, and allows our account to be easy and grants us entry into Jannah. Ameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا واسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا فإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكون من الخاسرين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. توبوا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Is this right? The Qibla like this? Am I good?
It's good.
Inshallah ta'ala, if you guys want to support, really quick before we start, there's a table back there. The sponsorship of the English translation of the Quran in Braille is $250. You can do it with a card, a check, cash. If you can give that, please do. If you could give more, please do, because we have lots of different things we're working on. If you can't give that, just keep sending your dua and give whatever you can. Barakallahu feekum. Please come talk to me afterwards if you're interested. Jazakumullah khairan. Istaqimu wa'tadilu. Heel to heel, shoulder to shoulder, straighten your lines, and pray this prayer as if it is your last prayer on earth. Allahu Akbar. Allah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.